Hello, good evening. Thank you for your company at this late hour. It was a bombshell day, wasn't it, at the Labour Party conference that made completely clear, in my mind, just how rattled the government is over the rise of Reform UK. In fact, I argue they're so rattled that breaking tonight, Shabana Mahmood is upping the government's anti-migrant rhetoric in a bid to trump Nigel Farage's surging party. I can reveal on The Late Show Live that the Home Secretary will announce in her big speech today that migrants in the UK will be forced to leave the country under Labour unless they can show they are, quote, good citizens. Foreign citizens will have to volunteer in their community, have a spotless criminal record, speak English to a high standard and be a net contributor to the economy to qualify for permanent settlement. The big policy announcement comes as Sir Keir Starmer's autumn conference kicked off in Liverpool today to a series of protests over his government's policies over digital ID and, of course, farm taxes. And as hundreds rallied against the government outside, Starmer was out in public suggesting Reform voters, maybe you at home, were racist.
It's a completely different thing to say we are going to reach in to people who are lawfully here and start removing them. They are our neighbours.
That proposal is immoral, to deport people who are already here if they don't pass more stringent rules. Do you think it's a racist policy?
Well, I do think that it is a racist policy. I do think...
See how wanting to protect your borders and controlling mass migration is racist, but there we go. There was also this from Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson.
Which I've heard loud and clear from members here in Liverpool this week is that we've got to stand together, unite and take the fight outwards to reform. Divided parties won't win elections and we won't beat reform if we're arguing amongst ourselves. The forces of reform, we want to divide our country, sow division and sow intolerance are at odds with our values, the values of the British people.
Yeah, division, intolerance, boring. Meanwhile, his housing minister couldn't even tell you how many new homes have been built under his own government.
How many homes have you built so far under Labour?
Well, do you know how long it takes for a planning application to go through?
Just how many?
Do you know how long it takes?
Just give me the figure.
Well, we're currently dealing with the tail end of what the Conservatives were doing, because it takes more than 18 months from an application to the home being built.
Please answer the question.
But I'm not going to take the blame for what the Tories did.
No,
I'm going to take the blame for what Labour does if it goes wrong subsequently.
Can you
we're
take
changing the rules to speed up planning so that the problem we're seeing now doesn't happen again in future.
How many houses have been built under Labour so far?
Starts have gone up by 29%. What I can't do...
Can you give me a figure?
I know it's really low, and I'm appalled by it as well, but that is because the Conservatives didn't get the applications through.
Please don't tell me you don't know the number as
Conservatives didn't get the applications through.
Do you know?
29% up starts.
No. How many new homes have been built since Labour took power?
I don't have the exact... I'm not Wikipedia.
Goodness me, that is excruciatingly painful. Could you imagine, just imagine for a second, that happening at a FTSE 100 company in the city? Somebody coming up to a worker and saying, give me how many sales we've had today, how many new houses have you built? I don't know. He'd be sacked on the spot. I can guarantee it. And I don't know why we have such incompetence that it's accepted widely across government and our politicians. It's insanely bad. These are low-grade people. But wait there, because it gets much, much worse. New polling reveals Sir Keir Starmer is now the most unpopular Prime Minister on record, with only 13% of voters satisfied with him. And then there was this from the Greater Manchester Mayor, Andy Burnham.
One thing I am worried about, and I think we do need to debate at this conference, in my view, is how can you have an open debate about all of those things if there's too much of a climate of fear within our party and the way the party is being run? How do you get an open debate about the direction that we need to take to reconnect with the public if a party member is suspended for liking a tweet by another political party or a member of parliament?
Right, well, with record low polling and leadership woes, is it time for Sir Keir Starmer to hang up his boots? Earlier, I spoke to Labour MP for Derby North, Catherine Atkins, and asked her whether she thinks a big chunk of her constituents in Derby North are racist. That was, of course, after the Prime Minister accused Farage and Reform voters of endorsing racist policies.
I think you've made several leaps there, Ben. I think there is a real concern that Reform have just got this policy wrong. And certainly I don't think that my constituents in Derby want to see people that have been living in our city for years or decades, working, paying their taxes, contributing to our community, deported. So I think absolutely we need to ensure that we have secure borders, and that is what this government is determined to achieve, which is why it's taking the action it is in tackling people trafficking and making sure that we've got the work in place to close asylum hotels, to have a robust system that we definitely need. But that is very different from deporting people that have been living here for decades. I think Reform have got it wrong, and I think it's right that Starmer makes that clear.
Yeah, Keir Starmer this morning as well saying that Nigel Farage and Reform would pose a national security threat to the country. I mean, I do have to wonder what's a bigger national security threat than 50,000 undocumented, mostly men from faraway lands with different values and cultures to ours being released into communities all across Britain. Do you not sense a touch of sort of irony in that statement from your Prime Minister this morning?
I think that we are starting to see Reform's record when it comes to the councils that they're running. And what we're certainly seeing in Derbyshire is that they're making a total hash of it. When we want to see good adult education, whereas they're closing down centres, we've got real concern ensuring that we actually have SEND provision. I know, but you're talking about whether or not they would be able to do anything that they're talking about doing. And the reality is we are already seeing in local government the biggest difference between what they promised and what they're actually delivering. And what they're delivering locally is certainly not what they promised. I think there was a lot of taxes down and services improved. We're not seeing any of that. And I think that if they're even a fraction of the incompetence we're seeing in local government, I don't want that anywhere near national government, yet alone our security.
OK, Catherine Atkinson, thank you. Appreciate your time. Enjoy conference, and we'll catch up soon. Thanks for joining The Late Show Live.
As a journalist, I always need to remember more in less time. And you know what I really hate? Taking notes. It wastes loads of time and you forget stuff. And that's where Plord comes in. This is the Plord Note, a sleek, pro-level AI note-taker that records and creates notes for you. Whether you're listening to a long podcast, stuck in a meeting, or on an important call, Plord captures everything at the tap of a button. Then it gives you a smart, structured summary with all of the key takeaways. It even recognises different speakers by their voice, and you can choose from bullet points, to-do lists, or even mind maps. Your data's safe too, with end-to-end encryption and global privacy compliance. And with Plord's built-in AI, you can search everything you've ever recorded just by asking a question. It's slim, magnetic, under 30 grams, lasts up to 60 days on standby, and over 1 million people are already using it. Hit the link in the description and use code GB10 for £10 off your Plord order. Save hours of time and never miss a detail again. Link in the description below.
Oh, that's funny, isn't it? Catherine Atkinson there saying there's a difference. Saying there's a difference between what they promised and what they're delivering. I mean, we could start with smashing the gangs, 50,000 migrants across the Channel under Labour. We could start with growth. I mean, the one policy this government forms their whole policy mission on. Where we've had no growth, with stagflation, in fact. A sense of irony there from Catherine Atkins. Well, GB News political editor Christopher Hope has been out and about in Liverpool for GB News on day one of the Labour Party conference. This is what he found out.
Catherine Atkinson there trying to explain why Sir Keir Starmer said that some of the elements of Reform UK's policies were racist, Ben, but she wouldn't answer directly the question about whether people who vote Reform UK are therefore racist. That's, I think, the question mark. The Labour Party is going after Reform UK. They are the enemy. We've heard that from Sir Keir Starmer already this weekend. But if you attack their policies in such, frankly, inflammatory terms, are you not then saying people who vote for that party, whether they support them in the polls now or in the election in up to 4 years' time, are they racist too? And that is a question I think that Labour have to answer. The risk they've got by using that language about Reform UK is they're attacking the people they want to appeal to come back to the Labour Party. And by using the racist word, That is a problem.
Right, let's get the take of US commentator and Democrat Party strategist Bob Weiner. Sorry, Bob, you prefer Weiner, don't you? And the Daily Mail's US political reporter Victoria Churchill. Good evening, panel. Welcome along. Bob, let's start with you. You've just come back from the UK, haven't you?
Yes.
Did you have a nice time? Did you feel safe and inspired?
I felt safe, and I loved your healthcare plan. The National Health Service took care of my wife. She broke her arm on the last day there, and within 4 hours she had been x-rayed. She'd been given a sling. She was given the prognosis, the diagnosis, and we were out. And then I said, what do we owe? And they said, you don't, because it's all free in London. It's free in England because you pay for it, as you pointed out to me, through your taxes. What a good system. We want it.
I'm glad. Well, sorry. I mean, commiserations to your dear wife for breaking her arm. Unfortunately, I think the experience you've had there of the NHS is a very good one, but I don't think it reflects the wider situation of the NHS in the UK. And you are very welcome. It is our taxes that pay for the NHS. It's not free, but you were impressed with the NHS.
Very much so, and they called afterwards to make sure that she was doing all right. They followed up. Wow.
No, good. I'm very glad. Yeah, you can buy me a pint after.
There you go.
What did you make of the political situation, Bob? Keir Starmer seems to be under immense pressure back home in the UK, and now he's going around calling Reform UK voters racist, and his Energy Secretary, Ed Miliband, calling this entire operation, GB News, far right.
Well, you've discovered the same problem that President Trump actually scored with, which is immigration, and the fact that he zeroed out the border. He should have stopped with that instead of putting everybody into rooms where there's 150 people and there's water and toilets for 25 people. You can't do that, and you can't send people and deport them and separate families. So he's trying to do that, and then he thinks that that's the way to go in terms of fear of replacement theory. But in your pensions, I know that you have a big issue with pensions. We are dealing with Social Security. It's an issue that you've got to solve because people are getting older, and it's going to cost the governments more. But nonetheless, you have to take care of your old people, and we do too. And that's the third rail in America, is not touching Social Security.
Yeah, I mean, Bob, we've got problems with the economy, pensions, migration, employment, cost of living. I mean, you're just touching the surface. But Victoria, welcome along. What's your take on Keir Starmer today? Do you think he is at risk of being toppled? The likes of Andy Burnham, the Mayor of Manchester, making leadership moves. What are you seeing as an American from this side of the pond? What's your impression of Starmer?
Well, of course, it's a little bit different from what we have in the US, that, leadership can change in the UK at any moment. And I think the thing that is fascinating about this is that I think Starmer is really kind of reaching out for a life jacket or a life vest within the Labour Party, because, I mean, he's had to sack and get rid of people all around him, right? You've had Angela Rayner gone. You've had the UK ambassador to the US, Mandelson, he's out. And so, all of these leaders within the Labour Party are out, and Starmer is kind of the final one. I think the question is, will public opinion force him out?
Do you think Reform UK voters are racist?
Absolutely not. This is just the latest example of terrible rhetoric within the political left, whether it's in the US or the UK. Just the other day, Kamala Harris said, fight fire with fire during her this redemption book tour that she's on. And, I've always been somebody that wants to have a conversation, a debate. I grew up in primarily liberal areas. And, I've always said that I was taught in schools how to think and not what to think. Yeah. And I think that's what we need to get back to with my generation and even the ones coming up after me.
Yeah, and also, Bob, today, sorry, just to add, Keir Starmer said yesterday, which Nigel Farage had a problem with, saying that Farage was the enemy in plain sight, and Nigel Farage accusing him of being one step away from inciting violence. When are you lot going to tone down the rhetoric, especially after the murder of Charlie Coe? I like Nigel. I've been on his show 6 times or so, and I think he allows voices as you do. Do you think he's far right? I think he's good on immigration, and I think that's an issue that Biden did not score on, and Trump did. Do you think he's far right? In some areas. But let me get to what you said about Kamala Harris, because what she said about not predicting the capitulation of law firms, of universities, of companies, of industries, that's just dangerous. That's taking away our republic. That's taking away the democracy that you taught us to have. And she makes a point on that. She's a has-been. She isn't going to be able to. Yeah, but that's a valid point, though. Yeah, I mean, I don't really care for Kamala Harris actually anymore. Yeah, she's a complete has-been. in. I don't know who. I mean, she shows the. She shows. I mean, JD Vance described her perfectly the other day. She has the IQ of room temperature. She can't speak. She has nothing about her. She has no policies, no inspiration or ideas. And there's a reason she got trounced at the election by Trump. Can I ask you, please? Oh, we've got some breaking news actually. 1 second. Let's get this. Sadiq Khan has made a big announcement. You've just come back from London, Bob. Sadiq Khan is hitting back on crime misinformation. So this is breaking just now. The Mayor of London has hit back at politicians, I guess he's talking about Farage, spreading misinformation about safety in the capital as new data shows the number of violent crimes leading to injury, that's very niche, has fallen in every London borough over the past year. So figures from the Mayor's Office for Policing and Crime, which compared the 12 months ending in August with the previous 12 months, showed there were around 8,500 fewer crimes which resulted in someone being hurt. That's a drop of nearly 12%. Sadiq Khan has said, we've seen a number of politicians here and across the globe talking down London and spreading misinformation about crime and safety in the capital, but these figures suggest otherwise. Bob, you just got back from London. Did you feel safe in London?
Well, that's just like Trump. The crime has dropped 25 to 50% in just about every city, and he's trying to send in the National Guard to take over the country. It's what he's really doing. It's a big anti-democratic move. He's setting up the Guard, and he's setting up the Trump, and he's setting up the military.
Steering it back to Trump.
He's setting up the military to take over the elections in the off-year elections. It's all to scare people away from voting in the midterm elections, which he's going to lose big time.
Bob, have you got Trump derangement syndrome?
No, you know I don't. Didn't I praise him on immigration?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
You did. You're being very fair. Did you feel safe in London, though?
Absolutely.
Because Sadiq Khan's come out firing now against the likes of Nigel Farage, other politicians. Look, I argue people just aren't reporting crimes. They're so fed up with the police, Victoria, not taking action. They're knocking on Brits' doors for tweets and social media posts. They're not bothering to report crimes when they happen because they know nothing will be done about it.
Well, absolutely. And you know, this is the issue that we've had right here in Washington, D.C., where we're sitting right now, is that I've had friends who have reported crimes and it's taken them multiple minutes, if not hours, to get a response from the police. And they've actually welcomed the National Guard as they've been here in D.C. over the past couple months. You know, actually just one of my colleagues at the Daily Mail, he had some crazy individuals come into his apartment in Navy Yard, just a couple miles away from where we're sitting now, and the National Guard was able to restrain that individual before police showed up. But if the National Guard hadn't been there, that might have been a completely different story.
I love them. I love seeing the National Guard on the streets of DC. They make me feel safe, Bob. I salute them. I say thank you for your service. And yeah, if they're stopping...
It's a militarization of the United States. We have a Posse Comitatus Act, which says the military can't come in and they can't do local law enforcement, and yet they are doing it. I'm telling you, mark my words, Trump is going to try to take over the midterms with the National Guard and with the military. That's why they have Hexeth and this big military conference coming in. They're going to try to bolt them into loyalty.
Oh, we'll have to get you over to the safety of the UK then, Bob. Stay there, you come back with me. Right, still ahead. Thank you both, Victoria, Bob.